If I could just put into a book what I have learned going into 2024, coming out of 2023, and all of my experiences of changing formats and launching my own podcast here at the DPB Show. I so appreciate you joining me, but man alive, I don't know. It could fill up volumes. I don't know about you. Uh, as I said the last show, more in 2024. Well, I think I've had more in 2024 in a matter of 9 days than I had in all of 2023. I mean, challenging. It is amazing. And I know that it's divinely inspired. God is so good all the time, and he's very good to me. I mean, the fact that I know, granted, we're still working on doing some of the things in studio here where I'm going to get dressed up a little bit behind me. My wife has gone to the internet and purchased some things. So by Thursday, I'm hopeful. Well, it has to be by Thursday, and I want to kind of brag about that before I bring on my today's guest host for the show. But on Thursday, on Harris Faulkner's show on Fox News, a young lady named Jasmine Jordan. You might have heard me speak about Jasmine before, but Jasmine Jordan, what a dynamic young lady she is. She happens to attend the University of Iowa. And during her time there, as a conservative voice on the campus, she was basically canceled, censored, chastised, and had the opportunity to get up in front of Jim Jordan and the likes of the congressional hearing. I think I don't remember the exact committee that it was on. I think it's uh, I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up. But anyhow, she was there with two other college students from different campuses and gave her testimony. Now, the interesting part about that is, while they were giving their witness or their testimonies to the congressional hearing, um, they were heckled by protesters, timely as they were. Every time they began to speak, one would stand up, and there were three different speakers. And of course, they would remove those people but they were pro Palestine. They were pro everything else what they weren't pro is First Amendment. But anyhow, um, Jasmine Jordan is going to be on Fox News Thursday. She's going to be doing that from yours truly right here at the DPB Show. She's going to be utilizing the camera and the microphone. I came in on Sunday to help with the sound check. So she will be back here early on Thursday before the show. I think it airs at 1 o'clock on Thursday. So any of you out there that are listening right now, and I know a couple of you have joined me, and we're going to continue to build here as we go on in the hour 4 to 5. But yeah, Jasmine, you got to tune in to her if you can, 1 o'clock. If not, there'll be a recording. I will try to put that up on my DPB Show Facebook page. Also, I'll try to share that in other ways, but that's something to be excited about. I wasn't going to talk about that. Obviously, I have a list of things to cover today. Mainly, conspiracy is a noun. Wouldn't it be great if more people would post their sins, their transgressions on social media than those accomplishments they've had in life or the best parts of their life? Wouldn't it be a different world if we truly got real with people and showed others just how broken we all are, because we're all sinners, right? And then finally, Lloyd Austin, obviously, as the Secretary of Defense, our hearts and minds and prayers go out to Lloyd. It sounds like, if everything proves to be the case, that he had a recent diagnosis of prostate cancer. So we definitely pray for Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, and but that doesn't obviously excuse the blatant dropping of the ball when it comes to having someone who is in the succession chart, number 6, and we don't even communicate with everyone in DC about that. We're going to hit upon that, but this is a great segue to bring in my guest host. You might recognize him. You might have seen him on my show before, but there he is right there in camera. My friend and also a podcaster himself, Ryan McKenzie. He goes by the
Thank you.
Ryan Show.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. I'm excited
Hey,
to be on your show.
hey, Ryan. Obviously, bringing you in, I think we can tell your audience that
Yeah.
yes, you have your show because we can stream not only to all of my platforms, but we can also stream to your show.
Yeah,
I think it's so
absolutely.
cool. You know
Technology.
where this is going, and obviously you heard me start it off with where I want to go. Conspiracy is a noun, but this is the advent of what lies ahead. This is what has liberals, the progressives, the Marxists, socialists so scared about what lies ahead. And what lies ahead is not necessarily artificial intelligence. What lies ahead is the ability for citizen journalists, for people like you and me, to just start podcasting and branching out and growing audiences. That's what's really fearful. Rush started it, right?
Yeah.
And now
Yep.
we've built the biggest I think audiences anywhere because you're not seeing TV, obviously radio. Those numbers are at best holding to decreasing or falling, deflating.
Right.
Where this venue that we're obviously broadcasting, podcasting from, it's growing with leaps and bounds. People want their content when they want their content.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I think the biggest thing was, I wasn't even political until I think Obama's second term. And then I never in a million years would have imagined myself speaking on a camera, much less doing any kind of content. I've never been one to mess with technology beyond just the basics. But something, I guess it was a God calling. I guess it was just a nudge saying, "Hey, you need to get involved. Your future and your kids, your family's future, it's impacted, and you need to be one of those voices." Am I going to say everything right the entire time? No, probably not. I'm going to get a lot wrong. But I think it's been fun just getting into it and learning a lot along the way.
Well, I remember when you came out of the box, as many before you, Paul Garcia. I watched Paul grow his podcasting. Now Paul's moved to more on the video production side of things. That is his business. What
Yeah,
he found out is that his talents of creating visual content superseded his abilities. I hope I'm saying this correctly, Paul, if you're out there listening, but he felt that that was his wheelhouse.
yeah, he
I
does
still
great
like
work.
to have him. I think he's a natural, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you've ever listened to Paul Garcia, you know that the young man as yourself. I mean,
yeah,
you're relatively about Ty Smith's age. Ty's another, superstar out there when it comes to this type of content.
yeah. That man can
Um,
talk.
yeah, yeah, and you had Kevin Ferris, Josh Bender.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, it's just it's cool to look at the team of young conservative voices who have leaped out of the plane, as you said. There's
yeah,
there's no going back, right? Once you
right.
start,
Yeah,
go 1, 2, 3 live,
yep,
and you are live like we are right now. You can't just recall it. You've got to go with it. You roll through the ups and the downs, the hiccups. Radio is a little different because it's timed out for you based on the
right,
breaks and the sponsorships. And
right.
it does give you a chance to reload.
Hmm.
And I understand why during these podcasts that many of your hosts or your opinionators, commenters, um, I call them the A team, like Bongino and Shapiro and Beck, that they get sponsorship and they actually do live reads for their sponsors because, once again, monetizing how you move forward. Everything depends upon money.
Yep.
Money makes the world go around. Money is needed. It is very needed. We were just talking about this, especially in the political world. However, as we say, money can be the root of evil, all evil, but money is still a necessity to helping us continue to grow our audiences and do everything that we do. But what I was getting to, and I know I kind of got on a tangent there, and we're already 10 minutes in, and appreciate everybody that's tuning in right now. Thank you once again. 4 to 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. We will be here, and we will be at X, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. And but if you're just tuning in, I have joining me today on the DPB show is Ryan Mack. That is him right there. He has his own podcast, the Ryan Mack Show. But Ryan,
Yep.
you came on the DPB show on the radio
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
I think, was that last year that you did that?
Yeah. So I think it was, I had met you finally in person after following Darren sue the governor 17 times over the
Yeah,
previous couple years.
that'd be
And
a one Darren Bailey.
yeah. And I think I met you at Raiders
Yep,
at one of his events locally. And we
that
had
was
talked a
yep.
little bit after that. And I'd gotten the itch to come on and you invited me on, and the rest was history.
So that probably was 2022. See, the years are flying and time
Yeah.
is flying because I am going to get into the content. I want to talk about conspiracy as a noun because I think that that is part of it, is why it is that we find ourselves as conservatives just really running. And I see that. Now, I get it. You will talk to, and when I say conservatives, that's different than the Republican Party.
Yeah.
That's a big difference because I think conservatives are really running and they're playing hardball. Bongino was saying the other day that Democrats play hardball, Republicans play wiffle ball.
Hmm.
Well, there's some truth to that. Actually, there's a lot of truth to that. I don't believe that the conservative portion, the grassroots portion of the party, of the Republican Party, is playing wiffle ball. We're playing hardball. Unfortunately, we are confronted with individuals of our own party who are trying to submerge us, right? They're trying
Yeah.
to undermine what we're doing.
Yep.
And so not only are we battling the left and the Marxists and the socialists and the Democrats, but we're also fighting a battle within our party for the conservative way, which really is the Republican way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that it's never going to be anything different. If you want to change the platform, there are other opportunities out there like the Libertarian Party
Hmm.
or form your own party. I mean, the neocon party, whatever it might be. But unfortunately, we've seen time after time after time the old Republican way, which is really the uniparty way, is done.
Yeah.
That's what Trump uncovered. That's what Darren Bailey was exposing when he took on his first state rep race, and the establishment, Jim Durkin out of Springfield, put up they put up $1 million to
Yeah.
try to make sure that Darren didn't get
Yeah.
that seat in the 109th state rep
Yep, and you're
district at
seeing at the
the time.
national level too. They're trying to gut down conservatives on the candidacy trail. We saw it with Darren here locally. They put all their money towards was it Richards? Richard?
Yep, Irvin.
Or Richard Irving, yeah. So
Richard
they put all
Irvin.
their
Yep.
money to their candidates they know is not gonna fight them on their way of doing things. And when you have people like Trump and Darren and strong conservatives who are going to not back down, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of people who actually say, "You know what? No, we're not doing things your way anymore. We're doing things the right way." And that's what we need.
Well, and Darren went from a state rep race, and they spent $1 million, Jim Durkin did, to the Senate side of things. And then the Senate Victory Fund, those folks, the Senate leadership decided they would, you know, mount a challenger to Darren for the Senate seat because his senator from his district had stepped down. I think it was the 55th at the time. Now it's been
Mhm.
remapped and it's no longer the 55th. But so they mounted a challenger. They threw a bunch of money at him. Then when Darren said he's going to run for governor, sure enough, the same people that were trying to basically unseat him out of the state rep and the Senate, they brought a challenger in the form of Richard Irvin. There obviously were other people in the race. You had Paul Schimpf, you had
Right.
Jesse Sullivan. I'm
Who was
missing
really a
one.
Democrat out of California. He should have
Yeah,
never been in the race.
Max Solomon.
Yeah.
So I mean, you had all these other contenders, and at the end of the day, the party's candidate was defeated soundly by 42 points.
Mhm.
Jesse Sullivan ended up eking out Richard Irvin in the gubernatorial race to get second, but he still was 42 points behind.
Mhm.
Darren basically demolished the field. And
Mhm.
that's the power of the grassroots movement. That's getting to my point of the conspiracy as a noun, because I think we need to hit upon this is that a lot of the conspiracy theories are breeded amongst the establishment, what they call the deep state.
Mhm.
And part of that establishment and deep state of Washington, Springfield, even local government, because it happens now. They always say we conservatives say there's not a true economic theory called the trickle down theory, but there definitely is a trickle down of the way governments run,
Yeah.
especially in modern times, because they have chosen to get involved, like JB Pritzker getting involved in the Unit 5 school board race here locally in Central
Yeah.
Illinois.
He has no reason for him to get involved in the local races.
But it is a trickle down, and that's what they're going to continue to do. It's
Yeah.
just the way of the way things are. But they're responsible for this conspiracy as a noun, and how they conduct themselves. I got this earlier, and I posted it up on social media on my page in the DPB show. But conspiracy is a noun, Ryan. An agreement between two or more people to commit an illegal act along with an intent to achieve the agreements and goal. The media loves to talk about how Republicans believe in conspiracy theories, like the Russian collusion hoax, the origins of COVID, and the Steele dossier. But they sure have been silent about the conspiracy at the highest levels of government to cover up the expansive criminal operation being run by the Biden crime family, the Biden regime. Doesn't that say it all?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that most of the conspiracy theories that were out there, that conservative voices, getting back to that conservative branch, I guess can we call it a branch? The conservative
Twig.
movement, the conservative way within the
Yeah.
Republican Party. The conservatives have been at the forefront of talking about election integrity, about talking about rigged elections.
Yeah.
The Democrats were really big on rigged elections.
Yeah. Every
They were
election they've lost, they've said has been stolen. There's a 24-minute video out there on the inner spheres of the web of just 24 minutes straight of Democrats accusing everybody of stealing elections. They can't hide from it anymore.
they called President Trump an illegitimate
Illegitimate, yeah.
president. They
Yeah.
went after Biden. They went after Romney. They went after McCain. It doesn't matter, even if they're not conservative candidates. That's the scary part about this, because George W. Bush was not a conservative.
Right. No, he was from
Romney,
the swamp. Yeah.
no conservative. McCain, not a conservative.
Nope.
But finally, when you get a conservative, and once again, Trump wasn't always a conservative.
Right. Yeah, there's an argument about that too. I think Kev brought it up one time. He wasn't the most conservative president, but he's been the most conservative one since Reagan with his policies. There's a lot of things that Trump was not even close to being conservative on. I think he's got a lot of work to do, but you have to start somewhere.
Well, and what was he conservative on? He is by far the most pro-life president we've ever had.
Yeah.
When it came to the border, nobody was stronger on the border. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that. I know you're going to hit upon that on
Yeah.
a podcast, but
Yep.
no one was stronger. Energy independence. Nobody stood firm in telling the foreign entities that no, we're not going to import. We are going to be a leading export of oil. We are going to be energy independent. And we were. When it came to school choice, he was a proponent of school choice. When it came to human trafficking, he was doing amazing things and breaking up some of the human trafficking ring. But once again, he's one man.
Yeah.
You talked about the 23-minute video out there of election denying by the Democrats. There's also a montage of Democrats at the highest levels, especially within the media, calling for the assassination of President Trump.
Yeah. Where's the talk to bring them under accountability? None. You don't hear that.
Yeah. Well, and that's my point. When you look at what the conservative movement has done, and Trump basically, I believe, saw that there really, if things were going to happen in this country, because it was on a trajectory, um, coming out of the Clinton era, where he basically sold out America to the Chinese Communist Party, and
Mhm.
that continued under Obama. And then you bring in the Klaus Schwabs and the George Soroses of the
Yeah.
world and the
The
World Economic
unelected
Forum.
elites. Yeah.
Yes, all of those people that we now have come to know as the great resetters, the
Mhm.
people who truly want to transform the world and depopulate it at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is part of the reason why those people are also the people who are not pro-life. They
Yeah.
are
Oh, yeah.
pro-abortion, and pro-killing, sacrificing children. And that's unfortunate, because that's what we're up against. But once again, Trump was a pro-life president. I contend he was the most pro-life president we've had since 1972,
Mhm.
when Roe v. Wade. Obviously, now we look at that. Roe v. Wade was overturned in the Dobbs decision, and it returned back to where it should have been in the first place, to the states. Now you're going to see the states continue to battle that out. But if it wasn't for Trump's appointment to the Supreme Court, we
Mhm.
would have never have been where we're at today.
Yeah, you
And
imagine where we were had Hillary won instead of Trump. She would have
oh,
been able to put 3 Supreme Court justices in place instead of the 3 conservative, not even call all of them conservatives, truly, because some decisions should have been handed down better than they have been. But that's not our goal to complain about the Constitution. I can disagree with Supreme Court decisions all day long, but the bottom line is read the Constitution and interpret it as it's written, and that's what I want these 6 to do.
yeah, I have my handy dandy little pocket constitution right here, Ryan. You
Yeah,
might be able
yeah.
to see that on your screen, and obviously, our audience can see that. As important as it is, that is the document, and that's purely what it is. It's really a document that guides us. But unfortunately, people lean too much on the document and not enough on people. See, if we don't have people speaking into the document
Mhm.
to bring back into account what the founders had
Yeah,
intended,
it's only as good
then
as the people following it. If you don't follow
uh,
it, it's a useless piece of paper.
that is exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. Hey, well, appreciate you joining me today here at the
Yeah.
DPB show. Once again, something new today, and we're continuing to grow the podcast. And but you got Ryan Mack of the Ryan Mack podcast with me today on the show. So I'm a little stumbly because I'm used to doing all of it, carrying the water, but now I obviously have given a little bit of the water over to Ryan so he
Yeah.
can help me carry the water. He's usually over here in the comments section. And Ryan, that's also good because I forgot to turn on the comments show or comment section. And look at that. Here it is. My wife's reminding me. See, it's always good. The Ryan Mack show.
There you
Thank
go.
you, my
She's
beautiful
always the
wife,
one
for
to keep
doing
you in line. I love it. My wife does
more
that
way.
too. It's okay.
Yes, more ways than one. If what would I do? God knew what I needed, and He brought me Tanya Blumenschein into my life. Um, the Russian collusion, the PP hoax, mask, the existence of the Biden laptop, and so much more.
Yeah, how can we forget the pee-pee tapes? Adam Schiff
Well,
wanted to see those.
so I don't know if you heard this today. I know that like me, you're doing things during the day and trying to keep a pulse on a hand on the pulse, finger on the pulse of what is transpiring, because it does come at us at the speed of sound. That's what we
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
Now it's more than the speed of sound, right? Because these bandwidth travels at the speed of light, correct? Am I
Mhm.
correct there when I talk about fiber? I'm getting myself into a hole here, but it travels at the speed of light. Let's go with that. Okay. Fact check me on it if I'm wrong. Not the speed of sound, but the speed of light. So information travels, and information is so powerful. information and centers of influence are so powerful, and that's what we are seeing with my wife pointing out that the Russian collusion, the PP hoax, we've never seen a video. They said they had one. Do you know what they say they have a
Uh,
video of now, Ryan?
what's that?
Well, they said it was Richard Branson. Is that the guy, the
Yeah,
billionaire?
the Virgin Mobile
Virgin
dude.
Air, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Richard Branson, Bill Clinton, and there was one more, I can't remember, who they said they had a tape of video of them doing those heinous, violent, ugly, despicable acts to children. Um, but now they're saying that they have a video of Trump. Of course they do,
Of course they do.
because
What
they needed
everybody has a
something.
video.
They needed something. They needed something in order to get us off the Lloyd Austin Secretary of
Yeah,
Defense. And once again,
yeah,
we're not here
distraction.
to beat up on Lloyd Austin. Obviously, this man, whether I agree with him or not, is not, it's not even in the equation of struggling through a diagnosis of prostate cancer. So our hearts,
Mhm.
our thoughts, our prayers go out to Lloyd Austin, his
Yeah.
family, as they're trying to navigate what is happening. Obviously, something happened because he
Mhm.
ended up in the ICU unit.
See, the
The
difference
thing,
between Democrats and us is that we actually have empathy for people on the other side who have ailments. They wish death and ill upon everybody on the conservative side. We actually can
they
actually feel things for other people other than, we may not agree with.
that's what I love about Ryan Mack. Tells it, brings it. Ryan Mack is talking smack. I love it. But that's what it's about. But you're
Yeah.
right. But it is feeling the empathy, and I do feel empathy. However, the other part of it is come on. Now you're coming out with the chief of staff, because once again, six layers down to six of succession, he's in line to, obviously, if five other people for some reason weren't
Mhm.
able to perform their duties, he
Yeah.
would be moved into the presidency. So I would say that's a big deal, Joe Biden. I'd say that was a big deal. And now we're hearing nothing out of the Biden regime, or administration.
But
Did I say regime?
they were bringing decency and transparency back to the White House. All we got was pride parades and topless men at the White House and nothing on the secession line in which somebody could be ailing and falling down dead, and they've heard nothing from them. It's
And nothing.
amazing.
And the chief of staff didn't even, I guess he had the flu. Once again, I'm sure that'll change
Yeah.
between now and tonight, and then going into tomorrow. The real story, anytime there's a story that needs to be told, that needs to be exposed, transparency. This is a good segue into my next point.
Mhm.
Uh, Ryan, every time that there's a need, we start hearing about UFOs. We start hearing about PP hoax or videos that included Trump. And who in their right mind would ever believe? Once again, if you have, and I'm not, this isn't my original thought, Ryan. If you have a video of President Donald J. Trump doing unspeakable things to children, I will personally come back on this podcast and denounce any support for the man. But I understand too that that's as big of a lie as the original PP hoax, as the Russian collusion, as everything else that we were told that Biden, the Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, the 51 intelligence agents who obviously put forth. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it never stops. And guess what? And you know this, Ryan. It's never
Mhm.
going to stop.
No.
That's why they call it progressivism.
Mhm.
They're
You know what there
constantly
are
going.
videos of? Joe Biden sniffing young children in the White House area. He's also grabbing women on their chest. He's sniffing their hair. There are videos all over the world about Joe Biden, but nobody says a word about his problems.
Well, and that's the thing. It's documented. I like that. I heard this saying lately, and I think this was by Jenna Ellis. They keep saying, "Well, there's no evidence of election rigging or election fraud
Mhm.
or fixing the election of 2020." that there's no evidence to say that that happened. Well, I like the flip on that. There's no evidence that says Joe Biden won.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me it's because he got 81 million votes. That's part of what we're
He was
saying
more popular than Barack Obama even? I mean, come on.
by what, 15 or
Yeah. 15
20,
million at least? Yeah.
yeah,
20 million?
15 million
Good
votes,
lord.
that he was more popular than the guy that's actually running this government,
Yeah.
which I truly believe that now, we know that to
Yeah.
be the case,
His
which is
tentacles are
why
everywhere.
Bongino laid a good defense out why it is Michelle Obama. I didn't take my wife's mask thing off. Why Michelle Obama will not be the nominee for the Democrat Party, because Bongino laid out this argument. He got to know Michelle Obama. He didn't work
Mhm.
on her. He wasn't directly in,
Right.
working as with the Secret Service on her detail, but he was close enough to her detail to know who this person was. And he said there's no way she would ever want the spotlight. And obviously, there's enough conspiracy, once again, noun conspiracy theories out there of
Mhm.
why it is that Michelle Obama might not want to be the nominee for the Democrat Party for 2024. I truly still believe it's going to be Gavin Newsom. That's who the superdelegates are going to choose. I can't wait to see how they unfold going into this first quarter, because I've made a prediction that it will happen in the first quarter. Many of you have heard me say that. Uh, Joe Biden will not be the nominee, um, but President Trump will be, and
Mhm.
he will be the nominee for the Republican Party. I unequivocally, there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. But getting back to um, the blatant lies and the lack of transparency in the White House in Springfield, wouldn't it be nice? And I heard this on a Francis Chan video where he was at a summit or a conference called Jesus 23. Jesus 23. So last year, obviously, but he challenged the audience. This is a little segue to what I was going to bring up about transparency, but he challenged the audience to say, by asking them the question, what was Jesus doing when he was 23, then 25, then 27? Because for all accounts that we're able to learn
Mhm.
from the scriptures, Jesus didn't start his public ministry until he was 30.
Mhm.
So what was he doing? Well, he was a carpenter. We know that, a rock cutter,
Mhm.
whatever that might be. But he was probably doing those things. But obviously, we have some insight because when he was a young boy, he was taken to the temple, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And left behind.
Yeah.
And his parents obviously said, whoa, they noticed that he was not there. They had to go back and seek him out. They were confused, but where was he at? I had
Mhm.
to be in my father's house. I think that Jesus was living as a faithful Jew. He was conducting himself, learning, and how much learning do you need to do when you are the son of God? But the bigger point that Francis Chan made in this conference was this: would it be like if we would post on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Getter, and all these other ones? You know them better than I do, Ryan. We were discussing this before we came on air, because Ryan is about at the age of being he could be my son. Ryan and I were talking. I'm about the same age of his father, who might be listening to this podcast. But and we also had Kat in there too. So I said I could be both Ryan's father and Kat's father. But what were we mentioning, Ryan? Because I just got myself off track by thinking about that.
Putting our sins and our transgressions on social media versus our accomplishments.
Thank you for bringing me back full
Yeah,
circle.
gladly to help.
I was thinking about being a father again of two more children, and I would start thinking I was like Abraham or somebody from the way back machine. But you're right, putting our sins and our transgressions. See, I was just checking to see if you were listening to me, Ryan. You're doing a very good job.
Always.
Um, but putting our sins and our transgressions up on social media, what would that look like? Versus always putting up our accomplishments. what we want people to perceive us as.
I don't think we'd have as many followers if we posted everything that we did that people wouldn't approve of on Facebook and social media. My wife does a pretty good job putting things on there that, is bashing me anyways, so I'm good. She puts my sins on Facebook for me.
Oh, well, you had mentioned she was good at keeping you accountable,
Yeah,
and yes, but at accountability. But that's what we're lacking in this world. Isn't it
yeah.
funny that that what is transpiring in the world really is kind of manifesting itself. Gosh, hold on, I need to drink water. Right in front of us here
Yeah,
in every aspect of our life, especially the social media. And
yeah.
people are not willing to really talk about, not say everyone. I've seen plenty of people who utilize.
Well, and there are some that will put, maybe it's attention seeking, maybe it's general or for whatever, but they'll put some of their woe is me things on social media, and that's probably the other side of the issue too. Is that you don't need to maybe post some of your dirty laundry that often on social media. But the perfect example of transparency, or even just putting their sins out there on social media, the White House every day on Twitter will sit there and say, "Look what I'm doing to this country. Look what I'm doing good for this country." Meanwhile, you and I are sitting here barely affording the everyday essentials, and for every American, even probably less able to. But he's out there gloating about what he's doing for the economy while the buildings are on fire in 2020, while the grocery store prices are on fire. Gas has been on fire for a better part of a year, but it's election year, so they're coming down. You're
Well,
posting accomplishments of the White House that is the complete opposite is actually what's happening. So you're absolutely right. What if the White House came out and said, "You know what? My bad. Inflation's terrible. That's on me, guys." Hashtag oops. If he started posting that, maybe he'd have some more credibility.
and I think that is the beautiful thing about the advent of technology, whether it be artificial intelligence or social media. That is the good part, because now we have the ability to go out and post the truth rather than a truth.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if I have sinned and I am wallowing, living a sinful life, and I haven't repented, you know, if I'm on the list of Epstein Island, I'm going to make sure that I get out and tell people it's time to repent, because I'm telling you right now, I can't even begin to fathom what is in store for anyone who is on the island. Now, I'm not talking about the list of people
Hmm.
who had an association with the man. The man was associated with anybody that had money
Well, like, I think
and
Dan
great
Bongino
wealth.
brought it up. He's the bouncer. He's the access to information that everybody wanted and needed. He was just the outside guy letting people in.
Yeah,
Everybody else was the client to him. He had the
that's right.
access. That's what it all comes down to.
And once again, when we're talking about people, and ultimately, that's the essence of it. We just apply the names, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Donald Trump, and really, they're just people. Um,
Mhm.
but they're also accountable.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Epstein, accountable. Uh, Ghislaine Maxwell, accountable.
yeah,
Bill Clinton, accountable. Richard Branson, accountable.
yep,
The list goes on and on. You, me, Ryan Mack, accountable. Uh, Jerry McKenzie, accountable. Tanya Blumenschein, accountable. Kat Peterson, accountable. Ty Smith, accountable. Kevin Ferris, accountable. We are all accountable for what we do and what we say and how we present ourselves. That is one of the reasons, Ryan, and you probably don't know this about me, but when I started many years ago in social media, I think it was around 2008, I said to myself back then, now I was fully steeped in a very um, growing, successful real estate business.
mhm.
And I was, coming and going, catching myself. But I said, what was lacking? I was doing things that no other real estate company was doing in the Central Illinois market. Now it's become kind of commonplace that you see more and more companies are going the way of where I was going with my different business offerings.
Mhm.
But I wanted to be someone that put content out on social media that was uplifting, because really it was my inner self, what I believed God truly wanted me to do. Now, granted, we all need jobs, we all need to be monetized,
Right.
we have to
Yeah.
bring home a paycheck. That's part of life. You got to have some cattle to sell, some
Yeah.
crops to share.
Yep.
You've got to make money. Money makes the world go round. We just talked about that.
Yep.
But something inside of me said there's something more. And so I started using my platform, my social media page, that I would share scripture, that I would share things that were uplifting, which I believe is so much more valuable than the garbage that you see out
Mhm.
of trying to deceive, kill, steal, and destroy, which
Mhm.
is a lot of what social media is. Not all of it, because there's plenty of people, as we just alluded to, Ryan, that are utilizing the platforms to be uplifting, to grow people, to encourage people. You know, where I saw the Francis Chan video
Mhm.
was on social media.
Yeah.
Obviously, YouTube is social media
Yep.
in its own form, own right. Rumble, social media. Wherever we view content, there is an opportunity to build people up and to expose people. And I guess that's now what's going to happen is, when if you are in the the middle of a sinful nature, that might be exposed. I think you're going to see that, especially through sources like AI. If
Mhm.
AI gets a handle on some of what is transpiring, because artificial intelligence is only going to talk about the facts, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
For the most part, that's what we're led to
That's why
believe.
the
Now,
administration wants to regulate it because they know it's gonna start hemorrhaging their factual information that they don't want out there. They were all for it until they wanted to decide to regulate it.
and they were all for it until they realized that they
Uh-oh.
weren't going to be able to continue to pull hoaxes,
Yeah.
to lie, to rig
Yep.
elections. Now, when you start finding out what they thought they could do is they could get the benefit of AI to do away with elections, because they said, well, they could just go out and calculate based on people's opinions and the way they conduct themselves on social media platforms
Yeah.
and their ESG scores and everything else, who they would vote for. So why would you have to have elections? Because
Yeah.
these people, we've already figured out who they'd vote for.
Yeah.
But really, what scares them most is the factual content that's going to come out. You
Yeah.
won't be able to buffalo people. You
Yeah.
won't be able to lie to people, and ultimately, that is something that needs to happen. I mean, we have spent too much time over the course of modern history, and as we go back through Scripture, we realize it's been going on since the beginning of the Bible, that deception, deceit, destruction, killing has been going on. And I think that's what people want to know. You know, the old saying, you can't handle the truth. Yes,
Mhm.
we can.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
can handle the truth.
Mhm.
We just can't handle all the lies that have been casted upon humanity in every respect of entertainment, Hollywood, the
Yeah.
media.
Yep.
They perpetuate, as you were saying. How can you believe, Ryan, some of the things when Joe Biden stands up there in front of a microphone? And I know I keep alluding to Joe Biden. He's just one of many, but obviously he is the leader.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
he's the
Yeah.
yeah, he is what he is.
He's the placeholder.
He is what he is. But he stands up in front of an audience and tells that audience that he has been at a black church more than most of the black people out there.
Grew up in a black church. He was Puerto Rican, he was Irish Catholic,
Wow.
he was Mexican
And
at one point.
but he just did it again
Yeah.
yesterday, and
Yeah.
basically he just comes up and says these things, and ultimately how anybody can defend this man and what he has said and what he has done, I believe that shows you the length that they're willing to go
Yeah.
to assure themselves that Donald Trump is never the president,
Yeah.
because they put Joe Biden in the presidency. And if you let's go back in the Wayback Machine, back when Booker T. Washington, what's Booker's name? Senator Booker
Oh, Cory Booker.
Cory
Yeah.
Booker,
Yeah.
Booker T. Washington, Cory
Yeah.
Booker. Cory Booker was actually out there raising money to be the president. Kamala Harris was out there raising money to be the president.
Mhm.
Bernie Sanders was out there.
Yep.
Elizabeth Warren. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And out of that group came Joe Biden,
Yeah.
who we know that Barack Obama personally cannot stand,
Despise. He hates
despises him.
Joe. He
And
picked him
so
as his VP because no one else really wanted to do anything with Joe. He resurrected Joe's own career because he was so low. Uh, there's a no he knows that what was it, the line that he had? Never underestimate the ability to Joe to F
Joe
things
Biden,
up. Yeah,
yeah,
at every
well,
turn.
yeah, and so you've got this gentleman that's in there that perpetually is in a perpetual state of untruths,
Yeah,
which gets back to my point. Why don't we start publishing our sins and transgressions? Wouldn't it be great if we had the liar, whatever that was that made, um, tell me the guy's name, Ryan, because I date myself if too much. Jim? What was
Jim
the
Carrey?
actor? Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey. Yeah.
Jim
If
Carrey.
you were unable and incapable of lying, how much actually more fun would it be to be able to see people do that?
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine politicians getting up there and speaking the truth
I can't
all the
lie.
time?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't lie. Joe Biden not lying,
yeah,
Donald Trump not lying, and
yeah,
and and they all lie. I
yeah,
mean, that's just the nature of
yeah,
being in that world.
yeah.
But to have somebody tell the truth, you know who does a good job of telling the truth? Thank you. See, see, if
There
you
you
didn't
go.
bail me, if you didn't bail,
Look
if
at
you didn't bail me out, my wife would have. Ryan, she's right there.
yeah.
Um, but isn't it refreshing to hear a guy like the fake Ramaswamy?
Oh, they hate him for it too.
Oh, I mean, you talk about telling the truth. The takedown that he did, and he just basically leveled the media for it.
Yeah,
He laid the responsibility, or a big part of the responsibility, because truly at the end of the day, that's our free press, journalism, that is who has created what we see in front of
yeah,
us in
yeah,
this modern world. That's it's evidence of the song sang by Oliver Anthony,
yeah,
Chris Oliver. you know it's like it depicts exactly what he said, because he's an old soul in this new modern world.
yeah,
And these people, all they do is they lie. I mean, that's what that song was about, right?
yeah,
am I,
yeah.
am I
That's
calling
all
it
they
right? I
do.
think
Yeah.
rich men north of Richmond.
Yep. Yeah, all
you
they do
know
is lie, and they're not worried about, anything else but, they're worried about minors on an island, not
Yeah,
really. Um,
mine instead of the miners, and but they should be. And he didn't take anything away from the miners on the island, because we should be concerned about every young person that is out there. My heart, I know my wife's heart, it goes out to children. I mean, to see what children are living through right now doesn't that we don't take anything away from the people who are doing it right. There are
right.
plenty of families that are getting it
But
right,
well, it
but
goes back to being biblical, who were the ones that Jesus looked after the most? It was the children.
yeah.
It his number one priority was the children. He did not want to see any child hurt or left behind.
Well, and I'm looking at the screen, and as my audience can tell, as Ryan obviously is a believer, that poster behind him, the lion and Jesus,
Yeah,
obviously depicts it all. That's the way that, and isn't it funny that the commonality, one of the things I was just saying the other day, and it was in regards to not only the pastor Tim Farrell's message this last Sunday at the Tabernacle, and if you get an opportunity, please come and join us 10 a.m.
mhm,
at the Tabernacle on West Hovey, right across the street from the big American flag. You can't miss it. If you get to White Oak Road 150, you've gone too far. I guess if you're coming from White Oak Road, it's the second right hand turn, and so join us 10 a.m. But at the Tabernacle, Tim did a message on Pastor Timothy James Farrell on God first, and how important that is, that we have God first, and how it
mhm.
is that I look back on the people that I truly respect in government. They're few and far between,
Yeah,
but they are people who always lead with God first. And Darren Bailey obviously is one of them. I was challenged earlier today by a friend who was talking about the town hall that Nikki Haley did.
Mhm.
And then another friend chimed in and said, basically I'd said that the only solution for the world right now is Jesus, come Lord Jesus, come. Um, but he had said that, that politicians, you find very few politicians who lead and are grounded as God first
Mhm.
candidates or God first elected officials. Um, and I know Darren Bailey's that way. I mean, you see it on his social
Yeah.
media. Go to Darren Bailey's social media if you don't believe me, and
Yep.
you can catch what I mean by somebody who puts God first.
Yeah.
But I was challenged that obviously there are very few politicians that put God first and lead with God. And I don't know if you heard President Donald J. Trump's address for Christmas on 2023. Have you heard that?
I had not heard it yet.
I'm gonna put it up on my social media page.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to the point where I can play that. It's only a minute. I think it's
Mhm.
it's like 71 seconds. But he basically says the greatest thing that's ever happened to this world
Mhm.
is the birth of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I
It's the true
don't know.
true message of what
Um,
Christmas should have been.
yeah, and that is from someone who obviously is a deplorable, gross, um,
Yeah.
Nazi,
Yeah.
dictator, what else? White
PP
supremacist.
tape maker. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so
I wanna go back to Darren for a minute because I think you brought up a great point about him, and it Trump has his skeletons in his closet for being, a businessman in his celebrity life, but it's people like Darren who are running for office that make it easier for people like me in small towns to relate to him because he's not a politician. He's a father, a Christian, a loyal man to God, and, just
a
small
farmer,
town.
a
Yeah,
farmer.
a farmer, yeah. Small town kinda person. I think that was the biggest thing. I didn't get starstruck talking to him and chatting with him because he just was like one of us, just standing there having a conversation. I think that's what most of America wants to see from the people going to Washington or in their line of government. They don't wanna see somebody like Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden enrich themselves in the swamp. They wanna see somebody who relates to them only.
Mhm.
That's who they elect to represent them. Darren represents all of us in Illinois, not just his district, but he represents the majority of Illinoisans who feel the same way he does.
Well, and he's gonna have a new district, and, obviously, I couldn't help but think about Vivek when you were
Yeah,
talking about just down to earth,
yeah,
calling it out, but Darren is that, and that is there is a movement, a growing movement of the grassroots.
mhm,
We are the Republican Party. This gets back to what we started and led the show off with.
mhm,
The grassroots movement. The people like Ryan Mack, the people like David Paul Blumenschein, Kat Peterson, Kevin Ferris, Ty Smith, there's a reason that we've gravitated to the social media level of broadcasting messaging is because we know that this can't be shut down. They can try.
mhm,
Obviously, they've done it in the past, but now it's been pointed out that they were censoring and limiting speech, which, of course, is inconsistent with this little thing called the Constitution and the ability of we'll get this right. I'll say, I think it's the First Amendment, which, if you listen to Nancy Pelosi, she would say it's in the first Bill of Rights or something like that. No, it's in the First Amendment. It's
She
not the
needs to have a
14th.
glass of wine is what she needs.
It's the 14th. But that's what's happening.
Yeah,
And that's the cool thing to being part of this growing movement is that we're seeing candidates replace other candidates. Darren has a race down in the 12th congressional district. He is going up against an establishment
mhm,
politician in Mike Boss. Mike is someone who has a Liberty score that is just one notch at 54% above Liz Cheney at 53%. You contrast that with Mary
mhm,
Miller. She's at 99%. Other players like that are Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You look
mhm,
at Liberty scores, that tells you everything about their voting record and what they're doing. Are they
yep,
really representing the people? And that's what you are alluding to.
yeah,
Small town America, those people who really are out there putting in the time day in day out, they're working as teachers. They're working educators, I should say, teachers, educators.
Mhm.
Um, they're working at plumbers, electricians. They're the people working at the fast food restaurant, whether it's Chick-fil-A. And I've got a whole shtick that I'm going to do, but I wish I would have had more time. I know my beautiful wife said go an hour. I think we're going to go over an hour, and I'm not going to be able to do my Joe Pags impression
Oh,
of
man.
Garrity of Chick-fil-A and Mr. Lunt from the Veggie Tales. You
She
said
can
I'd
she
like
can blame me, I'll take the blame.
no, I've been working on it, you know. It's from the theme of the cheeseburger, you know. The Mr. Lunt
Yes.
goes to get a cheeseburger. You remember that one in VeggieTales?
Yes, I
Well,
love it.
you've heard the outcry from some of the people in New York who said that they want to bring a lawsuit against Chick-fil-A because they're not open on Sundays. And how can you not have my Chick-fil-A sandwich on Sundays? You said that I'd like a Chick-fil-A sandwich and maybe a milkshake as well, but you're not open on Sundays. And I said, "Isn't this Chick-fil-A?" You
Oh
said,
my
"It is,
gosh.
but we're closed now. And you'll have to come back tomorrow at 8." You said, "But I'm extremely hungry." Yeah. Yeah,
That's good.
I'm gonna work on it.
You
I'm
gotta
gonna be
put some
working on
music to
my
that too.
I'm gonna put some music to it. But that's the audacity of people. And I think we're gonna cover that because I don't want to get us too far down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah,
that says a lot too. When people are willing to demand that restaurants be open on Sundays
how dare
because
they?
or Hobby Lobby to be open on Sunday because you have to go and shop at Hobby Lobby or you have to have your Chick-fil-A sandwich
Yeah,
on Sundays,
they're open
and how
6 days
dare
a
they?
week.
So, go and
They have
buy a
they have
couple and
families
put them in.
too.
You know, same people might be in there with Secretary Austin's chief of staff who
Yeah,
has the flu.
yeah.
Do you have a microwave? You can buy plenty of Chick-fil-A sandwiches and put them in the refrigerator and warm them up.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
might not be as good. I don't know. I believe it's a Chick-fil-A sandwich. It probably
People
tastes
are
pretty
just
good.
too much about instant gratification. They want it things when they want them. That's all.
Or when they don't want them, because
Yeah,
as I was
yeah.
alluding to get back to the Lloyd Austin thing, the Secretary of Defense's chief of staff, I'm certain has a cell phone, and he probably, even if he couldn't feel the need or compelled to call, he could have texted someone and said, "Hey,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah,
SOS,
yeah.
uh, we need to let people know that the Secretary of Defense is in the ICU
Yeah, he
unit."
coulda tweeted
And
it. He said, "At POTUS, hey, SecDev, under the weather, in the
yes.
hospital, hashtag sick." I mean,
Well,
something.
and ultimately, because that's the United States of America, we want the
Yeah,
best for people. We sure don't want the Secretary of Defense, who holds a position of great authority in this country,
right.
to be offline and no one know about it. No one know about his whereabouts. There's a lot more to that story. There's a
Mhm.
lot more to all of these stories, Ryan. And as I'm
Yeah,
looking, I do promise my audience it's going to be an hour. I'm not going to go 2, 3 hours. I know many commentators, opinionators, podcasters that will get on and just,
just
you know,
ramble.
do that. But hey, you know what, Ryan, we've got
Yeah,
to do this again.
absolutely.
So tell the audience uh, how it is that they can get in contact. When do you podcast?
Uh, I usually go once a week. I'm trying to work on a new thing, maybe twice a week. I don't know, 3 times a week. We'll see if as it gets going here. I go it depends because if I have guests, I parlay around their schedule on the weekends. So typically on a Sunday evening, I'll go live. I wait after you guys had your radio show bits to do everything. And then, after football season now, there's a larger audience that can just kind of pay attention. But typically Sunday evenings.
Mhm.
Saturdays, if I have guests, they have to kind of go around their schedule. Once a
So
week.
if you subscribe to the Ryan Mac, it's Ryan Mac. Is it YouTube, Rumble,
Yeah, so
X?
I'm on Rumble. I have some content on there. It's really hard to get up there really fast and really easy. So
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter. I can post it on my social media pages and my personal pages too and share all it out. But I'm searchable now, most of those places. But YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, yeah, that's probably where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, so go out and look for Ryan Mack. Google him. He's out on social media on Facebook too. I know that because I follow him on social media, and his wife. Shout out to his wife, Amanda.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yep, absolutely.
I pulled that one out of like some stratosphere of my cerebral cortex. How I did that, I don't know. But Ryan, once again, what a great opportunity to have you here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew back when you came on the DPB show on Cities 92.9 that your future was great in doing what we're doing here. I look forward to doing what we were doing before we came live on air when I had Kat. So we had 3 people in the screen rather than just 2, and
Mhm.
that was pretty cool. I mean, that was awesome. Uh, to have 3 like minds, especially almost from 3 separate generations,
Mhm.
talking about in these topics that we need to advance more in 2024.
Yep.
Ryan, the best is yet to come, but hold on because the worst is going to come with the best. You can't they operate simultaneously. You don't get rid of evil just by
Mhm.
increasing good. But at the same time, you don't give up on the battle and the fight. Hey, I appreciate to be being part of this fight with you, my friend,
Yeah.
uh, and I look forward to being with you soon again. Thank you to everyone out there. Don't forget that you can catch me live Tuesdays, Thursdays, 4 to 5, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Rumble, YouTube, X, and Facebook. Hey, I wish you all peace. Don't forget more in 2024. The best is yet to come. I know I'm redundant with that, but I'm going to say it until the cows come home and President Trump is back in the White House. Hey, we'll see you next time on Thursday. Take care.